Parboiling of body. What is parboiling? Par means partial. Boiling means boiling of paddy. Paddy means the rice grain along with the husk or hull is called as a paddy. So parboiling. Boiling is always done with the water. Partial boiling. It's a hydro. It's a water. Also temperature. Hydrothermal treatment. So you use water, you use temperature. So hydrothermal process or hydrothermal treatment followed by drying before milling or production of milled parboiled grain. So just now we saw milling. Milling can be done on raw paddy that is directly harvested, cleaned, and then you perform the milling to remove the hull or husk, and then you get the brown rice, and then you remove the bran and you polish it, whiten it, and you get the white rice. So what is parboiling? So parboiling is generally a partial boiling. In practice, it means boiling of rice within the husk. Okay, within the husk. So if you have this rice, there is a husk. Okay, and then you have after husk there is a bran. Okay, within husk after which paddy is dried back to its original form. Parboiled rice is known by various names in different regions such as single boiled rice or boiled rice or double boiled rice and etc. What are the objectives of parboiling? Why we do parboiling? So parboiling is done to increase the total yield of rice. Why the total yield of rice will increase? I will explain. Okay, to prevent loss of nutrients, to prepare the rice according to the requirement of consumer, and to minimize the damage of the paddy. So when we explain the physicochemical changes, you will automatically understand these advantages. But before I move into the physicochemical changes, see, total yield of rice. When you are taking the raw paddy, the starch which is present in the rice, okay, the starch here plays a very important role, and because of the boiling, it undergoes a process called as a gelatinization, and because of the gelatinization, the spaces in the starch granule, because of the spaces that are present in between the starch molecule gets filled up, and the molecule because of the gelatinization becomes stronger, and therefore further milling becomes easier, and therefore there is a increase. Total yield means less breakage. Also the loss of nutrients. So for example, this is the paddy and there is a bran layer. Okay, there is a bran layer. So because of the parboiling, which is a hydrothermal process, what happened? The water enters, water penetrates, and because of the penetration of the water, the nutrients that are concentrated in the bran and husk, they move inward. They move inward, and therefore the parboiled rice has like more nutrients, and they nutrients gets locked up to prepare rice according to the requirement of consumer, because parboiled rice is used in idli and there are some special requirements. Okay, so there are a lot of physicochemical changes that takes place during parboiling. What are those chemical changes? Okay, the most important change, as I mentioned, because the rice contains around 60 to 70% of starch. So during parboiling, gelatinization of starch will take place, and disintegration of protein bodies in the endosperm. These are very, very important change that is taking place due to parboiling. The starch and the protein expands and fill the internal air spaces. As I explained before, the raw rice, which is made up of the maximum, like protein is very less in rice, but there is a lot of starch, around 75 to 80% is a starch, and this starch is made up of amylose and amylopectin. And we have seen in the gelatinization process what happens when you do boiling. The water is absorbed by these molecules, and then it gets locked up between those amylose and amylopectin chains, and the molecule swells, and because of that water gets entrapped It fills the internal air spaces. Earlier there was a starch and protein and other constituents that are present in the rice, but because of these internal air spaces there is a gap. The fissures and the cracks in the endosperm are also sealed. We saw last time because of the moisture and temperature gradient, there are lots of crack developed on the grain. So when you gelatinize or boil it, what happens? The internal air spaces are sealed, and at the same time the fissures and the cracks are also sealed, because during the boiling, this is the amylose chain. Okay, this is the amylose straight chain. The water goes, and the water is entrapped between the amylose chain, and it is a straight chain molecule, and the molecule swells. And if you further, because boiling is a very high temperature, so this gel comes out, and then this gel also spreads, and this gel helps in sealing the these gaps. Okay, these fissures and the cracks in the endosperm are sealed, making the grain translucent and hard, as a result of which the breakage of the grain during milling is minimized. The color of rice also changes to yellow. Why? As I mentioned, you have this paddy and bran, and the water helps in moving these nutrients inward. Okay, so the color of the rice changes to yellow or yellowish brown depending upon the paddy variety, soaking time and temperature, steaming time, drying time, and many other post harvest factors. So parboiled rice takes a longer time to cook the same degree of softness than the rice of same variety. Okay, this is because you have already gelatinized the rice starch, and it is physically modified. Now already you are cooking it, you are gelatinizing. Okay, so after gelatinization, what comes? You are cooling it. Okay, you are cooling it. So after gelatinization, what comes? Retrogradation. So the starch is gelatinizing and retrogradation taking place, and that is why uh, it takes longer time to cook the same degree, because the starch is modified. Okay, the starch is modified. See, earlier these were the amylose, and these were the suppose amylopectin. Okay, these were the amylopectin, which is a longer, and there is no packing, not much packing. But because of the gelatinization, what happens? This, if you have a longer amylopectin chain, they can also form a very strong network by absorbing the water, similar to amylose. Okay, so this amylose is not now as compared to the native starch. This gets modified because of the entrapment of the water. Even if you get even if the water gets evaporated, this molecule is no more the native one. It is modified, and because of this modification, it takes a longer time to cook the same degree of this rice. The loss of protein and starch from parboiled rice in cooking water is low. As I mentioned, the bond between the starch and protein. Suppose you have this rice kernel. Okay, and then there are starch, and then there are protein. So suppose, and then there are internal spaces. Because of the cooking or boiling, the internal spaces or the gap is closed or sealed, and that is why now at the same time this loss of protein. If you have the raw starch or raw kernel, what will happen? When you cook, the water easily comes out. Okay, this is the native form, native amylose. So what it does, it entraps the water, but when you cook it more, it bursts out. It does, these molecules comes out, and that is why there is more leaching. It is called as a leaching of protein and starch from there. But whereas in case of the parboiled rice, because it is modified, now it is more stronger, it is more modified, because uh, it has undergone the process of gelatinization, cooling, cooking and cooling. Okay, Also, water-soluble vitamins and other water-soluble nutrients diffuse into the endosperm during parboiling, and hence there is a less loss of nutrients, and therefore parboiled rice is more nutritious, okay, even after polishing. So all these nutrients which were outside in the bran layer, they diffuse inward, okay. The presence of vitamin E is particularly noted in parboiled. There are multiple number of research papers wherein the vitamin E content of a raw kernel and a parboiled kernel of the rice are analyzed, and vitamin E is significantly noted in the parboiled rice to that of the raw rice. Slight dextrinization and destruction of lipases occurs during parboiling. Of course, the enzymes are heat sensitive. There are any enzyme, but this is in a way good, because if you deactivate or inactivate or destruct the lipases, they won't be able to attack on the lipids, mufa, pufa, if they have entered inside. So, and thus there will be less oxidative rancidity, okay. The heat treatment during parboiling causes destruction of some of the, of course, natural antioxidant, and many results in increased rancidity. So there are certain research paper wherein, because this bran is also rich in mufa and pufa, and because of the heat and boiling, there is also loss of natural antioxidants and rancidity, okay. So in general, there are three major steps in parboiling: soaking, steaming, and drying. So you have this dried rough rice. You do the cleaning to remove all the impurities. Just now we saw multiple number of impurities. You remove the impurities. Then either you can take that paddy to process the regular rice, the white rice, okay. And if you want to process the parboiled rice, you perform here. You take the warm water, soak under pressure, steam and dry up to 9 to 14% moisture, and then this is further process like shelling machine. Same process. See, rice milling process is same. Okay, that is why this graph I have made. So it goes through desheller or dehuller, and then if you remove the hull, you have the bran to remove the, like it removes the bran, and thus you have brown rice, then brown rice or parboiled brown rice if you take the parboiled paddy. And then pearlers means to polishers or to remove the bran, and then you have this white rice, and then after white rice you do polishing, and then you grade them according to the size, head, second head, small head, or you can either have parboiled white rice or parboiled brown rice, and then you store, or you can convert the rice flour depending upon the requirement, or rice gel could be also prepared, or rice meal can be also prepared. There are multiple number of products that could be processed. So paddy is taken, cleaned. So here in this process I'm explaining parboiling, okay, parboiling. In this previous process, how in the big company, it's not only just regular rice or parboiled rice, because demand for parboiled rice is not much, because it takes more time for cooking. Paddy, which is then cleaned, soaked in water for 8 hours, okay, 8 hours, then you drain. So the soaking is done to diffuse the water, okay, to diffuse the water. How we do, you have seen the conditioning of the wheat grain. So during this diffusion process, what happens, we will see. Then you drain the water, then steaming is carried out. It is called as a 20 minutes. So this is your paddy. You have this husk. Then in this 8 hour of soaking, the diffusion will take place. So this is suppose the bran layer. Okay, this is the So diffusion in soaking is done so that the water reaches up to here. Okay, water reaches up to here, diffusion. And then when you cook it, the water should be sufficient so that the gelatinization take place. Cooking means steaming. Aerating and heaping is done, like almost 3 hour aeration, so that there is a uniform distribution of moisture. Of course, their temperature, humidity is done. Heaping means continuously you move the grain or paddy. Tempering, it's again, a resting period in which you allow the grain or paddy to achieve the equilibrium, and then you dry it to the 14% moisture, and that is then further milled. So what happens during soaking? The soaking is nothing but it is a process of water absorption, which is also known as a soaking or steaming or steeping, or imbibition of water, imbibition of the water. It is basically a diffusion process. It's a diffusion process as a result of water absorption of the paddy shells, okay, not swells. And then because of the water absorption also, the water moves inside the paddy as long as the water vapor pressure inside the grain is less than that of the soaked water, and then it stops when the equilibrium is reached. Okay, so there are three phenomena that take place during soaking. One is molecular absorption, also the capillary absorption, and hydration. Okay, hydration. So molecular absorption, capillary absorption, and hydration. So what happens initially during soaking? Water penetrates the rice kernel and fills up the intergranular spaces. Okay, so rice, what happens? It gets diffuses, and you know that there are lot of intergranular spaces naturally, and because of the capillary absorption, the water penetrates the rice granule or rice kernel and fill up the intergranular spaces due to the capillary absorption. The volume of the paddy obviously increases. Paddy itself is a cellulosic portion. You know that compared to rice or starch, the cellulosic husk has more water binding or absorption capacity, and it swells because of the water absorption. So the volume of the soaked paddy is always less than the sum of the initial volume of the paddy and volume of water absorbed. The soaking process is always accompanied by release of heat. A considerable amount of kinetic energy is lost as heat when water molecules are absorbed. It is by default and by obvious. Soaking is done to provide starch with a quantity of water sufficient for gelatin. So here soaking is fixed for 8 hours, but it is also depending upon the type of paddy, like whether it is a short paddy, type of variety of the rice grain, short, long, extra long, or what type of rice kernel. Okay, so all that depending upon the these hours of soaking depends on the variety. Okay, so soaking is usually done to provide, so a miller is wise enough to decide how much time the paddy needs to be soaked. So soaking is done to provide starch with a quantity of water sufficient for gelatinization. If there is no gelatinization, will not be any sealing of the crack formation. The rate of soaking is also depending on the temperature of soaking. Again, this we have seen how the starch behaves under different temperatures. Okay. Initial high rate of soaking is mainly due to quick absorption of water by hull. The filling of spaces between hull and rice kernel and capillary absorption in shallow pores of the peri. It is obvious that initially rate of soaking is mainly because there is no less moisture, so it is a hygroscopic molecule and therefore it absorbs. The absorption of paddy or absorption of water by paddy is a diffusion process. At a higher temperature, the diffusion process is high. Okay, the diffusion coefficient increases because of changes in some properties of water such as viscosity, vapor pressure, density, surface tension. Hence, soaking rate increases as the temperature increases. The soaking characteristics of different varieties of paddy are usually different, as I mentioned already. And because also each variety will have a different molecules of amylose and amylopectin or ratio of amylose amylase. So therefore, there will be a different gelatinization temperature. So usually the gelatinization temperature is within 65 to 75 degrees Celsius. The pressure, the water absorption also depends on superincumbent pressure in soaking tank. Like what is the pressure built up there? So that is why I mentioned that heaping is needed. There should not be pressure built up because it's a heat is also generated. In some modern processes, vacuum and hydrostatic pressures are also used because it reduces the soaking time. Under pressure, there is a more diffusion, keeping temperature within the desirable limit, because we just now saw that a higher temperature causes increased rancidity. Volume. The soaking of paddy is also associated with the increase in the volume. There is a slope after a break at moisture content of about 0.5 gram per gram basis. The air space inside the husk allows the kernel to hydrate and expand without appreciable change in the external grain volume. This is understandable. Initial, the volume change is low, but later on, thereafter the grain burst into a swelling line. Okay. A further corroboration of this result can be obtained. This was research paper, I didn't delete it, but this is not required. Diffusion equation. So this Ghosh et al. Have calculated the diffusion equation. Okay, so understand that diffusion depends on temperature and whether it is carried out at a vacuum and what all other things. Okay, the type of variety. So then once the soaking is done, steaming is performed. So steaming is a process in which we apply the steam to a soaked paddy. So paddy has already absorbed a good amount of water, and steaming is, you know, that it is a thermal process. It is a process in which heat is given. See, boiling is a different, but here we are providing steam because already soaking has been done. So you provide steam. It has a very, very high heat content compared to water. Steam has always a high heat content. Steam is used to complete the gelatinization process, as it does not remove moisture from the paddy. Rather than what it does, it adds moisture by condensation. During steaming, the spread of water-soluble substances inside the paddy grain, is increased. Like as I explained, there is a starch, protein. So all of these are water-soluble, and so this, because of the steaming, it gets these water substances gets more like dissolved. The granular texture of endosperm becomes pasty because the molecules, the starch present in the kernel, already absorbed water. Now because of the high temperature, because steam has a very high heat content, so because of that the molecule instantly gets gelatinized, and because of that gelatinization, the endosperm becomes pasty or a jelly or translucent. Any cracks which there are present in the caryopsis or endosperm, they are sealed because of the gel formation, because of the paste formation. Endosperm becomes more compact because all the cracks, interstitial spaces are sealed, and that is why it has a more translucent appearance. Okay, I hope till here you have understood. Okay. If there is a higher degree of gelatinization, it will be reflected in the hardness of the grain, deepness of the color, greater amount of cohesion between the layers of perisperms and between the germ, scutellum and endosperm. So during this gelatinization, depending upon the variety, the amylose amylopectin ratio, all these factors affect on the degree of gelatinization, and that could be seen by hardness of the grain, color change, and all other things. And then the third step that you perform on the steamed paddy is drying. So the parboiled paddy is dried to a moisture content of up to 14 to 16% to obtain the desirable milling and storability or storing property. As I mentioned, the lipase enzyme that is present in the bran or the layer or the rice kernel gets inactivated or disrupted. The most important aspect in drying is the process is carried out in two stages. The paddy is dried to a moisture of about 18 to 20%, then heaping, like you are turning these paddy and then tempering for few hours. So these are the two important steps, heaping and tempering. And then again you are drying to bring that moisture content from 20% to 18%, 16%, 14 to 16%. If drying is continued to one stage, there is a considerable amount of breakage because of the gradient, moisture gradient. Okay, that is why to prevent that breakage, this is performed. Okay, so effect of parboiling on milling, nutritional and cooking quality. Milling, comma. Okay, there is a comma here. I have typed in a very lot of hurry, so therefore this typographical error. So effect of parboiling on milling, nutritional and cooking quality. So let's see what is the effect of parboiling on milling. Obviously it has a better yield. So because during the parboiling it seals the cracks and hardness of the grain. As a result, reduction in degree of breakage of rice grain is occurred. Rice varieties without short grains are usually more resistant to breakage and compared to long slender variety. This was one research study in which they obtained this study. Okay, parboiled rice require 3 to 4 times it requires more abrasion because the grain is now kernel is more harder because of the gelatinization. Okay, so milling you need more force, 3 to 4 times as much as abrasive load to that of the raw rice to attain the same degree of polish because the grain is more now resistant to breakage because of the gelatinization. To achieve an equal degree of surface bran removal, parboiled rice must be subjected to less polishing. Okay, so when you are doing polishing or the removal of the bran, whatever, or dehulling, you need less force. Okay, you need less force. What is the impact on nutrition? The concentration of nutrients in the bran is higher than in endosperm and hence loss during polishing is minimized. Okay. So when you are polishing by the traditional method, because of the abrasion and forces, you remove a lot of nutrients. But during the steaming, what happens, or the soaking, the nutrients are leached. As much as 70% of vitamins are retained in parboiled rice. These are some of the research studies wherein people have found that more vitamin content, more vitamin E, vitamin B is stored in the parboiled rice to that of the raw rice, okay, raw kernel. So only which retains only 30%. So here 70% of vitamin B. What happens during cooking? Obviously, it is going to take extra time. Raw rice takes about 15 to 20 minutes to become fully cooked in boiling water, whereas it takes 30 to 40 minutes. So more time is needed for a comparable degree of softness. Okay, swelling capacity is expressed as the ratio of final to initial volume of weight of rice. So here, for same period, water absorption capacity is expressed by swelling ratio is lower for parboiling rice than the raw. Raw rice swells more because it's the raw native rice. Okay, raw starch. Okay, raw starch is gelatinized in one go. But in case of parboiled rice, the rice starch is modified. It is physically modified due to heating and cooling, and therefore you have lower swelling compared to this raw kernel or raws. So expansion ratio of dimension of cooked and uncooked rice both along with the length and breadth have been studied by various research, and at equivalent degree of softness parboiled rice expands along with the bread than raw rice, whereas along the length not. So these are the different studies, like whether it is in breadth or weight or along the breadth or along the length they do. So these are all factors that have been studied in the research paper, but the variety matters and all other factors matters. The loss of the solid in the gruel is greater in raw rice, why I already explained, than in the parboiled rice. Discoloration of the rice during parboiling is mainly due to the non-enzymatic Maillard type browning that can be inhibited by the bisulfite. Okay, so this is one table in which the composition of brown and milled and brown milled and parboiled rice has been done. Like this is the brown rice, this is the milled raw rice, and this is the milled parboiled rice. Okay, so the moisture content, if you see, they are overall same only, like 12 12 12, and this is little lesser. Calories of energy that are given by this rice is like higher compared to this, because there is a bran, and bran is lower in calorific value, whereas here it's only raw rice, milled raw rice, and milled and parboiled. Here there is a more calorific values. Protein, maybe there's more digestibility. Protein content is in brown rice is higher to that of the milled raw rice and the milled parboiled. So parboiling is definitely is going along with the brown, but only advantage of milled parboiled rice is more shelf life. Okay, it is more shelf stable. Fat content, obviously in the brown rice, because of the brown, the fat content is really high. And when you compare raw and milled parboiled, it is almost similar fat content, but obviously it is lesser here. Fiber content is also highest in the brown rice compared to milled and parboiled. So milled parboiled is less fiber content. Yes, coming back to the vitamin, you see the one that we consume on our day-to-day life contains a very less thiamine, okay, 0.07. Whereas you see parboiled rice have even greater this vitamin content than that of the brown rice. Okay, this is brown rice. Riboflavin is not determined here, but it's obviously is higher in brown rice, and then niacin is also very equivalent in these two varieties. Okay, so there are multiple number of advantages given by parboiling. It gives a grain, a hard texture, a smooth surface finish. As a result, there are less broken kernels, and therefore the yield is also increases. Increased yield more than 3 to 5% in the total yield of rice. Insects find it more difficult to bite and eat their way through these hard and smooth surfaces of parboiled rice, because of the gelatinized. These are sealed. The granule has been modified, so loss of solid in the gruel during cooking is also less in the parboiled rice to that of the raw rice. You can cook the raw rice and you see there is lot of white kanji we call, because lot of solubles leaches out very easily, whereas in the parboiled rice this gruel, solid in the gruel is less. Milled parboiled rice contain more vitamins than the milled raw rice, that also we explained. Why? You know it very well. Loss of vitamin B is less in parboiled rice during washing and cooking to compare to that of raw rice. Parboiled rice is non-sticky, non-glutinous because of the modification of starch, gelatinization and retrogression. Parboiled paddy in milling produces a bran of higher oil content, that is 25 to 35% to compare to that of raw rice bran, which only gives rise to 10 to 20%. Parboiled rice bran is relatively stable to that of raw rice. Why? Because the enzymes such as lipase gets destructed or inactivated. Disadvantage also there, like disadvantage like it develops darker color compared to raw rice. Traditional parboiling process produces undesirable smell because of the oil gets into the rice. Due to long soaking time, mycotoxins may also develop if the care is not taken during this entire parboiling operation, and that may be a very big hazard to health, because mycotoxins, even at a high temperature, they remains because they are highly thermostable. Heat treatment during parboiling destroys some of the natural antioxidants, and hence parboiled rice develops more acidity than raw rice, because in the raw rice during milling you take precautions. Na? Shelled parboiled rice requires more power of polishing. Parboiled paddy may choke the polisher because of the higher oil content of the bran, and requires an additional investment of capital, wherein soaking and steaming and drying, that two times drying, hopping is done, like, so there is an additional requirement. Okay.